I'll stop sharing and over to you, Brandy.
Kia ora koutou, ko Brandy Alger taku ingoa. Hi and welcome. My name is Brandy Alger and I'm going to be your MC for today. Thanks guys for coming to Pathways to Tech. It's been brought to you by Canterbury Tech. This event is part of Tech Week 2020 and is sponsored by the Ministry of Education. Just a couple of things. The session will be recorded and put onto the Canterbury Tech YouTube page within the next couple of days. A couple of things, quick session overview. We do have 3 young sector professionals speaking about their company, their professional journey so far, what their job actually entails, what they enjoy about working in the sector. So we're going to encourage you to ask questions using the Zoom Q&A function at the end of each speaker's times. The Q&A function can be found in the bottom of your toolbar in the Q&A part there. Once the speaker is done talking, I'll start asking the questions to the speaker, and if we have too many questions, then we'll use the time after to write them down, put them on the website in the next couple of days as well. So now I'm going to pass it on to Neil Hamilton, who is the General Manager for Canterbury Tech.
Thanks, Brandy. I'll be your old guy for the day. I'm not going to talk for too long, but just a few words about what Canterbury Tech is. Canterbury Tech's a membership organisation for local technology companies and people. So we represent a lot of the technology employers in Canterbury and run a range of meetings and a big conference each year, a mentor program and various events like this. A quick run through what the tech sector looks like locally, and I'm going to run through these first few slides really quickly just to give you an idea of the breadth of companies we've got. Here's a few. You might have heard of some of these, but most of them you wouldn't. They're very good at what they do. They operate internationally, but usually in a very narrow niche. They're technology products, usually software products of various types. Then we've got a range of manufacturers. Christchurch has historically been really strong as a centre of manufacturing. So all of these companies create physical things. So the jobs in these companies are a really wide range of electronic engineers, mechanical engineers, production engineers, software engineers. Depends on the product, but there's a great range of jobs in this area. Then we've got the telcos, and Chris from Vodafone is going to talk to us briefly shortly. They underpin everything. Without the telecoms, a lot of technology just doesn't fly. IT services is a layer above that, so there's networks and security and business applications. This group is really diverse and wide and a big employer of people. Then we've got software services. We're really strong in Canterbury in this area, and we've got a couple of speakers today from Jade and Trineo. These companies create software applications, mobile phone applications of various types for their clients. Digital and web companies, some of these are more towards the being advertising companies, others are more technically oriented. But again, there's a lot of creative jobs, graphic design jobs, software engineering jobs with these companies. And let's not forget the large user organizations. They tend to get overlooked, but as part of the overall tech sector in Canterbury, these are big employers. For example, Foodstuffs is the company behind all the New Worlds and Pack and Saves and a number of other retail companies that you're all familiar with. They employ a technology team of 80 or 90 people. So there's a lot of jobs in these companies, although they're not technology companies, they're employers of technology people. Here's a list of words about some characteristics of the Canterbury tech sector. It's a big employer. It's the third largest export sector for New Zealand, behind 1, dairy, 2, tourism, 3, technology. So we want to be number 1 over the next 10 or 20 years. And Christchurch is the second largest technology city in terms of number of people employed in New Zealand. It's a really broad and diverse sector locally in Canterbury, and it's growing. And a couple of other points down the bottom there. Not all jobs in technology are technical in nature. There's marketing jobs, sales, HR, legal, a whole range of things that don't involve engineering or writing code. And although it's ostensibly about the technology, it's really a people industry. People use technology, people create technology. So don't undervalue the general people skills that you need and may already have. And here's another list, transferable skills. These are the sorts of skills that are actually needed in the technology sector. You'll notice that none of them are coding languages or anything like that. They're all what we used to call soft skills or transferable skills that are broadly applicable. And if you're good at these things, then and get into the tech sector, you'll be employable forever and a day. This is a blast from my past. I learned to code on one of these. It's called a Commodore PET. It weighs about 15 kilos, and by today's standards, it's completely useless. Just a curiosity as much as anything that belongs in a museum these days. More interesting is some of the stuff that's going on today in Canterbury. And here's 3 examples. I've chosen to use 3 physical examples. The top 3 pictures are from HiveMind. They're in the bee monitoring game. So the left-hand picture at the top is scales that sit beneath a beehive to tell you how much it weighs. In the middle is a communications hub that relays that information and a whole lot of other information about beehives back to the beekeeper, back to the office. So the graph on the right is the sort of information we can get off of that. Hive weight, temperature, so on and so forth. Bottom left is a waterproof bionic hand from a company called Tasker, created right here in Canterbury, a world leading product. And bottom right is Whisk. This is an autonomous vertical takeoff and landing air taxi that is being trialed currently in Tekapo on the South Island. And at some point in the future, we're going to be transported around big cities using this sort of machine. So growth sector, lots of interesting things happening. I'll stop talking now if I can remember how to stop sharing my screen. There we go, done.
Thanks, Neil. It's so great to see how New Zealand's on the cutting edge of technology and all the opportunities. So as I mentioned before, we've got 3 speakers coming up. The first one is Chris Coromandel from Vodafone. Chris?
Hey everybody, I'll just share my screen and we'll get started. Perfect, so like you can see and like we've talked about today, my name's Chris, I'm from Vodafone, and you might see a funny name down the bottom that's saying Vodafone Zone, and it's specifically the type of business or the area of the business within wider Vodafone that I currently work in. But I'll start from the start and give you guys a better idea of what Vodafone do, what we do as a business, and then also what my team does. So Vodafone New Zealand, most of us may have heard of Vodafone. We're one of the common ones. We normally give connectivity to people to connect their homes to internet and also mobile devices. So you might see a lot of ads on TV. I think over the last couple of weeks, we're doing a lot of stuff around endless data, and you might have seen that ad go on. But we're also starting to talk a little bit more about 5G and new technologies that we're bringing to market here in New Zealand. For Vodafone, our core mission is to be able to connect people with the things that they want to see, do, or play with, and then provide that opportunity for them to be able to thrive. Our products and stuff that we communicate and connect across the country. Today we've got over 3 million connections, whether that's at home with mum and dad and your mobile phone in your hand, but also for some of our business customers up and down the country. My specific area, and that word that begins with X, even though we say it like it's a Z, is Zone. So my team and the area of the business that I'm focused on is innovation, and how can we take the best digital technologies, especially that Kiwi companies have created, and then how can we share that with our customers locally, but also with our customers around the world. So you may be aware that there's Vodafone UK and there's Vodafone Spain, Australia, and how we can start to share some of the best technologies and get those things powering around the world. I want to give an overview of what it's like working at Vodafone. Hopefully you can hear and see this clearly, but this is our office based in Auckland. Your typical day, you arrive on site. If you've got visitors, they'll come and sign in, but for the most part, your day starts off just like any other business. You enter our premises, We've got lots of cool toys that you can play with. It's a really cool working environment. It's really casual, and it's built to make our lives easier. We've got meeting rooms across the floors. Typically, you'll start your morning with a team meeting. You'll get to communicate the projects that you're working on, some of the things that you're excited about. Inside our offices, we've also got other special facilities like wellness rooms, because for us, making sure that you're okay at work also means that making sure you're okay at home. We've got really flexible work hours, so you can see at this time that this guy's taking some exercise. We have food, cafes, free breakfast and cereal around the business. We've got cool toys if you want to take a break. So it's a lot of fun things for you to be able to take some time off work when you're in your lunch breaks and be able to just have fun and engage with the other team members. It's not always just fun and games, though. We do a lot of work, but our offices are built around the technologies that we sell. So like you can see here, you can order your coffee from your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is actually your ticket around all of our offices. You can open up lockers, you can make your way around the building, you can book desks. Everything revolves around smartphones and the power of technology in your hand. Some of the work that we do, though, is like we talked about with our business customers, our consumer customers, and here we're looking at cybersecurity and how do we make sure that people that use our network, that the information that they're sharing is safe and secure. For me, I work with the business side, so I'm in a lot of business meetings, just like you saw in the boardroom. We have all company meetings where you might have all the staff in the business turn up, or maybe in your specific business segment. But for us, Vodafone, working at Vodafone is more like a family. I'll stop this video here, but I'll keep talking. If you think of Vodafone as a larger family, I would say there's three specific parts of the business. The first part would be the technical team. So that's a team that builds our network, makes sure that our network is always operating so that whenever somebody needs to make a voice call or send a text message, it's always able to go through. The second team, I would say, is our team that sells that network. So this is where if you were to go and visit a Vodafone retail shop, or if you were to call one of our call centers, or sometimes if you're a business customer, some of our sales teams that will help make sure that customers can get the services that they want and need. And then the third part of the business which is where I fall under, and we're the ones that kind of help merge the gaps between both. So we either strengthen the team that are building and servicing our network, or we strengthen the team that are servicing and building customer relationships for us. Our values, and I guess an easy way to think of how Vodafone operates, is to look at what we're really passionate about. And there's three main areas. I won't go too in depth with them, but really number one is focusing on our customers. How do we make sure that our customers get the best of the services that they're after? We want to create an ambitious team, and for us that means diversity of thought. So similar to what Neil was saying earlier on, it's not just about having technology or technical people within a tech business like Vodafone. It's also taking different perspectives and those transferable skills that help to see other sides of the picture or help to make a difference in the way that we think. The third one is innovation hungry, and that's really where my part of the business takes place. So to introduce myself quite briefly, I obviously work for Vodafone New Zealand. I live and work here in Christchurch. My specific background is I'm not actually that technical. I graduated with a business degree from Waikato University, and my experience is I've started up 2 startup businesses, and my specific part of the business is taking those Kiwi companies that have great technologies and then working with them and with Vodafone to take their take their products and services to our customers here in New Zealand, but also around the world. And my title and role down the bottom, you can see it in the bottom left. For me, I guess my pathway into tech or being part of the tech sector is I've always been interested in technology. I love playing with new toys and new gadgets, and I made the decision early on that I really wanted to work for Google. I wanted to become a project manager, and I wanted to live and work in cool offices, and I wanted to be able to have free lunches, and everything about Google just seemed amazing to me. And so early on, while I was in high school and as I moved into university, I knew that I needed to study some kind of technical skill. That was the thought that I had. And so I signed up for some computer science papers, and this is kind of the experience that I had. So on the left, you can see of what I thought my career was going to be like studying in class. Everybody else in my classes, they were doing great. But when it came to technical thinking and being able to code, it's not actually a strong suit of mine. And so for me, it was a lot of catching up and a lot of trying to make it work. I decided in my second year of university that actually maybe there's another way into a company like Google. Maybe I don't have to become somebody that's a developer or code. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but my skills and my strengths are better suited somewhere else. So what I did in my second and third year of university is I started a startup business with some friends, and we started exploring how can we make our own business and how can we become CEOs one day. And we started to work in towards a tech sector that way. Quite fortunate for me is Vodafone at that time, they launched a new program, which was a graduate program to take people who finished university to be able to come in and spend 2 years moving around the business, learning different parts of the business that made sense for them, and then finding a nice home there. My first place that I visited inside this 2-year program was Vodafone's own, which is primarily geared at startup businesses. So quite similar to the work I'd done. And it was working especially with tech startups to help them grow their app or to increase their sales or, find investment for them. And so it was kind of positioned around the work that I'd done at university, but also finding a nice home for it at Vodafone. So my role into the tech sector has merged into that. As a result, I now manage partnerships with startups, partnerships with tertiary sector, and also I manage Vodafone New Zealand's 5G and innovation labs. So a really cool role for someone that's not necessarily a technical expert. Skills that I think can help you be successful, like Neil mentioned earlier, transferable skills. Number one is going to be communication, dependability, adaptability, teamwork, organization, and leadership. I think if you're a well-rounded person with a good mix of those skills plus others, then you'll be a successful person in a tech career. But that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Right on time. That was really cool, and I love to see all the really amazing things that Vodafone offers, not only job opportunities, but gym and table tennis and all the really cool things as well. So I might have gone too fast because I have a tendency to talk fast, but there is a Q&A toolbar at the bottom. So if any of the students have any questions for Chris, click the Q&A and then put a question in. If you have a problem with the Q&A and it's not working, you can find me on the chat under Brandy. But I've got a couple questions for you because that was really cool.
Cool.
So you're in the Christchurch one. Does the Christchurch branch also have all the cool things that you showed in the video of Auckland?
We do. We've got a lot of cool stuff in this building. Unfortunately, we don't have a cool video, so I couldn't show one of here. But across the business, Vodafone does a really good job at taking care of its staff and making sure that, when you're working at work, you've got a great environment to be able to work. But when you need a break, there's also facilities there to help. So it's a really good place to work.
And do you get a chance to work with a lot of the other areas? So I know you're in business, but do you get to work with other different regions, the engineers, the IT, the technical professionals?
Yep, definitely. So with the 5G labs that I manage, so that means that I have to work with network engineers that are building our 5G network, our core team, making sure that whenever I bring customers in to see 5G or what that could do for them, that there's power behind how that technology works. So I work quite closely with a lot of different people around the business, actually all across the business, yeah.
Cool. So we do have a couple questions from the students. The first question, can we bring students to your Christchurch office to see the environment in person, as in class tours? Do you allow class tours?
Yes, yep, definitely, and I'm happy to arrange that. At the moment, we do have a little bit of building work taking place in our building, but once that settles, I'll definitely make an invitation for that.
Cool. That sounds really cool. I've been there actually before, and it's a really cool building. So what are some challenges that you face quite consistently?
Challenges that I face quite consistently, I'm not too many, to be honest. I think probably the biggest challenge though is because there's so much that you can do with technology, it's making sure that you can focus down and really be clear about what you want to achieve. And sometimes with technology, it's quite easy to get carried away.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. I really like this question. For a graduate student with barely no experience, what's the key to finding your first job?
I would say just that transferable skill. So, one of the biggest things about Vodafone is if you're willing to put in the effort, Vodafone will reward you with an opportunity. So I guess for any job, it's normally the person that puts their hand up the most and says, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to help, I'm willing to try. And it's that kind of experimentation or adaptability, I think, is probably one of the biggest things about how you can translate what you learned at university into a career, whether or not it's a direct correlation with the role, it's that kind of transferable skill that makes you a better candidate for any kind of role.
So if we take that one step backward, how can they get a role in Vodafone? Is there like one key thing that Vodafone looks for in a CV or a graduate?
It's all about the person, from what I've learned. So coming through the graduate program, we want a diverse mix of thought. So we want to be able to see a wide reflection of how New Zealand looks to the way our business looks, and then from that, we want to make sure that we've got different perspectives and opinions, and it all comes down to, I guess, the person.
Okay, good answer. So I've got time for 2 more questions, and like we said later, we will put the rest of the questions into the website. So what do you find is the hardest job you can get at Vodafone, and what's the easiest? And I know that's probably your own opinion on what that is.
Yeah, I'd say that's my opinion, and for me, I don't think I'd be able to achieve what some of our network team achieve, and that's solely because my brain's not wired that way. So for me, that'd probably be the hardest, but then vice versa, they might think my job's just as hard.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And then the last question that I'm going to ask, and like we said, if your question isn't answered, we'll put that typed into the website for later on. What courses would you need to take to get into the tech company like Vodafone?
Really good question. At the moment, technology is advancing quite quickly, and so we're starting to look ahead beyond just making sure that people's cell phones can work. So for us, we're at Vodafone looking, if you wanted to participate in courses, I'd recommend courses around AI, machine learning, cognitive computing, the future of where technology will end up, and then eventually you'll be in a prime position for Vodafone to pick you up once you've completed those courses.
That's great, really informative. Thanks, Chris, so much for your time.
No
Up next, we have Marama Callan from Trineo. Marama?
Hello. I thought I'd start with a little bit about Trineo and who we are. We're a software development company. We're based in New Zealand. We have offices in Christchurch and Auckland, but we also have offices in Sydney and Boulder, Colorado in the US. We customize Salesforce, which is a business management platform, as well as creating bespoke custom software to meet business needs. A couple of the projects we've worked on are digitizing the billboard booking system, including ones in Times Square, and creating a digital ski pass purchasing system. So here at Trineo, we have some core values, and I will share. So I've got our core values here and the skills that we look for in new employees that associate with these. So we've got seek first to understand with listening and communication, take nothing for granted, humility, treat each other with respect and teamwork, take the initiative and problem solving, make good decisions, decision making and communication, and high impact, low drama, which is talking about teamwork. So I also asked around my co-workers to find out the different paths that they took to get joining our company. So a lot of them did the standard path of studying computer science at university and then onto their career. But here are some examples of different ones. So we've got someone who was studying astronomy and languages at university, and then software development piqued their interest and they ended up shifting over to that. We had another who studied graphic design at uni, focusing on print design. After they graduated, they realized there weren't really any jobs for someone who only had print skills. So they self-studied website development, and that managed to kickstart their career. Another built websites for fun in high school, managed to get a job with a startup and learned a lot from them and slowly built up their career from there. Another worked as a gardener, and their company wanted a website, so they learnt website coding and built it as they went, deciding they liked programming much more than gardening, and eventually learned enough to start their programming career. Another got fed up with their hazardous work environment, so they moved back home with their dad, who was a developer, and they taught them coding. They worked in an unpaid internship for 14 months, and then they started their paid career. So a bit about me. My title is the lead software developer, and my path here also wasn't a straightforward one. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for a career when I left school, so I did a short course in various things I enjoyed to evaluate if I'd still enjoy them as a job. So I have a bunch of certificates, including food and beverage, fashion design, and tech support. So tech was the area that grabbed my attention and seemed fun as a career. So I did a Bachelor of Information and Communication Technology at Polytech. So it was CPIT at the time, it's now ARA. And I really enjoyed programming when I was doing the course, so I specialised in that. Then I started working as a graduate engineer and I worked my way to the lead software engineer at Trineo. So what exactly does a lead software engineer do? Lots of things. The software engineer part of that means I get to participate in the whole software development lifecycle. We have customers come to us with complex problems that they need solutions to, and I get to participate in gathering the information about the problem, formulating a solution alongside my co-workers. Then we write, test, and iterate on the code to make software that solves our customers' problems. This can often end up quite different to what we first envisioned. The lead part of my title means I take a lead in designing the solution and deciding the best way to go about solving the problem. I also help the other engineers hone their skills and resolve problems inside and outside of code. There's also plenty of other things that I do, such as training course, team outings, charity work, pixel art on the office windows, and eating cake. What I love about software engineering is that there's constantly something new to learn about. There's no time to be bored. And at the end of the day, you get to see all of your hard work come to life. I also get to work with some amazingly brilliant people and make friends with people I would have never expected to. I also get to work in a pretty neat office, which I thought I'd give you a very quick video tour through. Share that. Hey, welcome to Trineo. I thought I'd have a tour of the office and talk to some of my co-workers about what they enjoy about their job. Thanks, Vanish. I was wanting to ask about what you enjoy about the job.
Hi. What I enjoy most about the job is there's a different challenge every project that I do. It encourages different ways of thinking, and it's a great opportunity to learn from other developers' work.
Hey Sarah, I was wanting to ask about what you enjoy about your job.
I enjoy that I get to work in a team and solve interesting problems and learn something new every day.
So that's my office. I'm in it currently, but in a different part that we didn't show. So in conclusion, I'm biased, but I consider tech an excellent field to get into that you should seriously consider. There's a huge variety of opportunities within the tech sphere, so you're bound to find something which aligns with your interests and strengths. And the opportunities and variety within tech is constantly growing. And that's me.
Oh, that was great, Marama. So quick questions up here. So we've got one general question, which actually I might leave to put on the website. It was a question asking how the teachers contact these companies to organize tours about learning. So maybe we'll wait so we can get all of three of you guys to answer and put that on the website if that's all right with you guys. So that one is a really good opportunity for things. Did you guys ever do tours at Trineo?
We haven't done tours, but we have done the Shadow Tech mentoring. So we had a couple of high school students come in and learn about what we did. So we're open to it, but haven't done it so far.
Oh yeah, I've been a part of that Shadow Tech. It's quite a cool experience. From your tour, and I know from the history of being a female in the tech industry, you can see the male to female ratio is quite low. Do you ever find that difficult?
Not for me personally, and Trineo is really welcoming of all of our diversity. And we actually have more females in our Auckland office than males. So it's not always a minority.
Yeah, that's really good. That's actually, I think it's getting much better. So what creative outlets does Trineo provide? I see all your pixel art on the side of the walls.
So the pixel art is definitely a big one because it's a lot of fun and it's nice to sort of, if you're having a particularly heavy day of thought, then just sitting back doing some art is pretty cool. And we're open to any ideas. We often have socialing in the Friday afternoons, so yeah, it's just whatever people suggest.
So do you guys design the pixel art, or do you find it online and then just kind of copy it from there?
I've actually designed a lot of the pixel art that we've got. but some of them are from the internet.
Cool. Another question, how important is it to be able to document your design process?
So going back to one of my courses, the fashion design course sort of sapped all the creativity out by having all the documentation. So for us, the design process is not necessarily documented, but where you got in the end needs to be well documented.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I've got time for one more question, and like I said, we'll come back and we'll answer the rest on the website. Says, hi Marama, your experience is very cool. How did you start noticing that software development is something you wanted to do? What is the first programming language you've learned?
Technically, when I was in high school, I played around with building a website, and then I sort of dropped that and didn't think to continue with it further. And so that's why I did those short courses. And then the tech support, like the whole tech sphere, seemed really interesting because it was so diverse. And then when I did do that longer course, we sort of get a taster of all the different ways and paths that we can go. And for me, the coding was the bit that was fun because it's like a problem that you need to solve.
Yeah, I think coding is quite fun. It's very puzzle-like. Great. So again, just a reminder, we will putting the rest of the questions on the website. We've also got one more speaker. So ngamihi for your time, Marama, really cool talk. And finally, we have Leroi Chua from Jade Software. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? So I'll just quickly share my screen here. My name is Leroi Chua, and I am a testing engineer at Jade Software Corporation. This is the plan for today's presentation. Just a quick overview. So I'll be talking about Jade and its values, a bit about myself and what I do. So what do we do at Jade? So we solve problems with software. So businesses that can't solve their problems with their current tools, programs, or processes, we help them by creating software to address their needs. Secondly, so designing solutions for people. So we help.
Share, Leroi, if you meant to share your screen, you're not currently.
Oh, sorry.
Even tech professionals have technical difficulties.
Yeah. Can you guys see this?
No, not yet. Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that there. Perfect. Do you guys see the side of the slides? Perfect. So again, so the plan, I'm just going to talk to you guys about Jade and its values, myself, and what I do. These are the two principles I think that Jade boils down to in trying to solve things. So we basically solve problems with software, and the solutions that we provide to businesses, we make sure that even though the software works, we also want to make sure that the people can actually use them as well, which is something that we do quite well. And most importantly, this is where I sit. So if you're in Christchurch, you know, come find me. That's where I sit. So yeah, that'll be awesome. So anyway, back to Jade. An awesome thing about Jade that I found is the values that the company holds. Values aren't some cheesy, corny lines or words mashed together to impress people. You need to look beyond that. And what you'll see is that the values that a company represents, the values that a company holds is actually, it represents the people who work there. So at Jade, for example, one of our values is people first. And so that means that, to me, that means that it's awesome to know that your work means something because your work is helping someone at work or a customer. Another interpretation is also that we support each other when issues arises, so that if anything was to happen, I know that I have the support of my team, and also that I'm working in a safe environment there as well. So we try to build a psychologically safe environment there. The second value that we have is dare to be different. We propose new ways of doing things. So this means, to me, this means that I do not need to be afraid of sharing my ideas or my thoughts. Another point is that to take part in things that we don't usually do. So this means it's okay to try new things as well. And the last value that we have here is live for the future. So an important point to this value is that I know that I get to become the person that I want to be at Jade. Jade will help me grow as a person and in whatever role that I want to be in. And the last point to this value here is don't die. Kind of self-explanatory. If you died, you can't really live for the future. So that's quite important. So far, all you know about me is my name, my role, who I work for, and also where I sit. Hopefully the values and points that I listed just before helped with understanding who I am as a person, what my team is like, and what it's like to work at Jade. Values are important because knowing the values of a company lets you know if you're a good fit for them, and also this is something that a company would look for in someone that's going into the industry as well, or just applying for a job with them. So who am I? Again, I'm Leroi Chua. I'm 26 years old. I'm a testing engineer. How did I get here? I wasn't born, but delivered by a stork from the heavens. And just fast tracking this, I came from Burnside. I did some work in travel. I didn't go straight into IT. I had a Chua cafe in Cambodia, and then came back and realized that, I really wanted to do some things with computers, because I realized that was something that I just really loved doing, and just solving problems with it. So I got a Bachelor of Information Technology from ARA, and my final project at ARA was to automate regression test scripts for an anti-money laundering software that Jade owns called Third Eye as well. So that's how I got into the industry. That's how I got my foot in the door. So this image that I totally didn't reference represents what my team mostly looks like. So my role is mostly closest to what this guy here with that arrow is, of a QA engineer. The purpose of this image isn't to discuss the different roles, but to really highlight how many different people you need to actually talk to in your job. So here is actually my timetable from, I think, last week. So casual 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. But one thing that no one told me about getting into the industry is the amount of meetings that you're actually going to have. It's ridiculous, the amount of talking you have to do to people. So if you're coming into software development thinking that you're not talking to people, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to rethink your pathway, because man, there's a lot of talking to. It's insane. So a tip for that is to actually plan and prepare before you go into meetings as well. It's a good tip. So here's a clip of the office at the moment. So this is us on a busy day on Wednesday, but as you can see, there's no one there. That's just because we're all working remotely thanks to COVID, which is awesome. So how we've actually adjusted to this is that on Mondays and Tuesdays, we would now come into the office, do our meetings, our face-to-face, catch up in person. And then from Wednesday onwards, you have the choice of working from home, or you can actually come into the office, which is just absolutely awesome. So what do I do in my role? So a big part of my role is to check the quality of our software. So one of the tasks is to check if the software is working. So this here is a test script. It tells us how it should work, but thankfully we don't have to remember it. But reading this line by line to check if your software is working or not is very demotivating and not very fun. Just want to highlight this part here. It does get bigger and there are multiple pages. So my job is to make sure that I automate this so that once you automate it, you don't have to ever read this line by line again. So here is a video of automation at work. Now, in hindsight, this is, it just looks like someone just logging into a page. But what really is happening is there's a program that I wrote in the background and it's just logging in. This is our application, Third Eye, and it just does what a human would do if they were using the application so that you don't have to read that massive long script to test again. And so, yeah, that was that video that I'll cut short there. And this is the result of my program. So if there's any problems that come out that we need to fix, this is the red that will need to get addressed there as well. So thank you for having me. Hopefully you've seen something that you've never seen before. And my last words is that learn anything that you have been putting off now. It gets harder as time goes on, as you have less time to learn it. If you find it too hard, it definitely doesn't get easier if you wait. So break the problem down further and go for it. So my name is Leroi and that's my story.
Thanks, Leroi. I think you asked the first question of yourself, which is good.
Oh, awesome.
So we're waiting for some more questions to come in. Oh, one's popped up. Are there any ways that we can contact any of you for more questions afterward? Neil, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, we have Canterbury Tech has a generic email address for students and employers, and look, we'll make sure that's in our follow-up email to you, and we will perhaps try and facilitate some employer visits in future, although I'll have to talk to individual employers to see if we can make that happen.
Cool. I had a question for you. So do you like talking to people now, or is it something that's still not a big thing?
I think the thing that makes it really easy for you, for myself, is just to be myself. I think that's the key thing. Like, I sometimes have no filter, but yeah, it's just a part of the job. And if you have to change yourself to work, then I don't think the job's right for you. But yeah.
Yeah, good answer. So we've got another question, and I think this is probably a very common one. So why did you choose ARA over another university, and is there any reason why students should choose one or the other?
That's a good question. I went to UC for a bit, but I dropped out after the earthquake hit. What I noticed was that, like, at UC, you didn't have that closer interaction with the lecturers, which comes down to every single thing that everyone has just talked about today is the people skills part. ARA was great because it's small classes, but the people skills part came into it, whereas I would approach the lecturer and just talk to them as if I was talking to a friend sort of thing. And they were just, that part there was immensely valuable just because, you know, they showed me things, and it was just learning firsthand what it's like.
Yeah, real cool. So I noticed all of you guys, one common thing is that all of your companies are people first, which is not probably the first thing people think of in the tech industry. So I think that's quite a cool experience for each one of you to be in working in inclusive team environments. So as COVID, because you talked about working from home now, and you usually work in a team environment without any cubicles, how has that changed those team dynamics?
So we had to learn, well, I had to learn Microsoft Teams, which I'm real used to now. It's great in a way that you can have one-on-one conversations with people that you usually can't have in an office, which just because it's just an open setting. And it's also just great that you're able to just you still have that same interaction where you could just invite all the people in your team into just one meeting, so it's still there. It does lack that personal feel, but you know, you still have that interaction, which is awesome.
So we're out of time, so I'm going to have to finish the rest of the questions online. But I just want to highlight one more. Thank you all for doing this. This is from the Q&A. Thank you all for doing this. It's really helpful. Great to get to know real views from real people about what IT companies do. So a really big thank you guys to all three of the speakers, Canterbury Tech and Neil, and the Ministry of Education who sponsored this event, and to the schools, all of you guys who have zoomed into the session. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from the different companies within the Canterbury as well, and hopefully you got some insight on what it's actually like working in the tech center. One last thing, the Ministry of Education has asked that all the students who were part of the Zoom fill in a survey. It's just a couple quick questions, and it's in an email that was sent to each one of the schools. We will be following up. There'll be the YouTube video on the Canterbury Tech YouTube page, plus also a follow-up of the questions, and then Neil will give you the email so you can contact him later. Thank you guys all so much for your time, and have a great day. Haere rā.
I'll just chip in and say thank you very much to Brandy for hosting, to Marama, Chris, and Leroi for joining us. I know you can't hear the clapping, but I'll do some on behalf of everybody else. Thanks for joining us, and to everyone in the audience. We'll try and do this sort of thing again in future. Give us some ideas about what you'd be interested in via email. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. See ya.